a person from my door. I will do none of the things that it seems to me are not right. And therefore, when my time comes, I shall sing my death song proudly and go forth to my Father. I will go to the great Indian who understands Indian. I will also, perhaps through him, ultimately go on and on to a still greater being who understands all men. But the Indian said, whatever the old ones are that sit in my medicine lodge in the sky, they know me, they know my heart. They do not have to ask me questions. They do not have to try to decide what kind of a man I am. They know. They know my problems. And if I know in my heart that I have done as well as I could, I may go proudly into the house of my Father. All of this has a lot of mysticism in it, but it is not quite as complicated and ritualistic as in some of the other philosophies that we may consider. But out of these primitive beliefs and out of this primitive thinking, I think we can trace that which in the Aztec and Maya culture complex gradually took form. We're no longer the vigil alone in the night, now the vigil alone in the great sanctuary in the wilderness. No longer the individual entirely alone, learning from the stars and from the earth, but now going into the presence of a priestly college that perhaps originated as he had previously experienced. But now this knowledge was in books. The records of the herbs and simples were known. The simple principles of surgery and dentistry were already well understood in Central America. The Incas of Peru inlaid teeth with precious stones. Many of these people performed successful trepanning on the brain, and the patient lived. We know this from the condition of the skull. So these people knew many things, but I'm sure that by the time they reached the cultural level of the Maya, it was not just by going out and sitting in the forest. Now it was a case where all this forest wisdom that had all begun the same way, now had begun to be gathered, to be put in tablets and in written form, and to be traced in the enduring memories of orders of priests. So now these neophytes received the whole instruction of his people. But he also had to test himself and prove himself. And it was undoubtedly part of his discipline that if he wished to go on from education to theurgy, that he would have to likewise be initiated, would have to again pass through the fasting and all these higher rites that ultimately opened the inner consciousness and made it possible for him again to sit with the masters of his lodge in the great house in the sky. All of the mysteries had the same grand pageantry, and also they all had all the same wonderful simplicity in a way, because they were all aimed just as Zen is aimed, toward a direct experience of something. No more just theorizing, no more just remembering, but something that happens to the person, whereby he opens his own consciousness to receive the great instruction. In the Eastern Seaboard and the mysteries of the Long House, the initiation of the child involved this element of orenda that we have mentioned before. In this type of initiation, the young person was brought into a circle of his elders whom he regarded and admired, his living elders, and here in solemn and most systematic manner he was told the story of his people. He was told of the honors that had gone before, of the bravery of his ancestors, of how good men had sacrificed their lives and their happiness in order that the tribe might survive, and how he owed to all of these who had gone before him a certain gratitude, for they had suffered and labored and died that he might live, that he might have a better kind of life. And therefore into his mind and into his heart must also flow the high resolution, the noble dedication, the commitment to the common good, that was the virtue of his people. He must be like the best of the old ones and the true ones. He must accept his citizenship as the great responsibility, as the proof of his own manhood. It was his duty to guard the rights of his people, to guard their liberties, and also to guard his own nature against selfishness or anything that would destroy this beautiful chain of remembrance by which all that is good now is bound to the dreams of those who have gone before, and also in a mysterious way is born and bound to the dreams of all who will come after. So in this way, the young person received something. He felt moving into his own heart the tremendous wealth and strength of his people. He realized the privilege of being a man, the wonderful opportunity to be a true hero, to give of all of himself, to do the very best that he could, ever to bring honor. And as the Spirit flared up in glory within himself until he knew that he had a destiny that was worthy of a man, then the old one said the arenda had come. The mystery of consciousness had opened in this person. This young individual now saw his destiny, saw his work, recognized his place, knew that he was desperately needed, knew how much there was to be done. And in those moments of knowing, he was initiated. He became one of his people, to live with them, to labor for them, and to die with them. These were his duties. And to realize this was to have the Spirit moving strong within him. Out of these situations, I believe the mystery rituals came. And I think they developed through several stages on our Western Hemisphere, that climaxing in the long house of the five nations of the Iroquois, or perhaps in the mysterious jungle temples of Xibalba. Regardless, it is part of the same mystery tradition that we trace in other parts of the world. Well, I guess our time is up, so we'll try it again next week.